I told him actually that at Fynd, we believe in being brutally honest. So I'm going to honestly tell you that everyone has told us not to do work with you, right? So then he asked me, right? So, but what do you think? Right? Forget what people have told me. What do you think? So I said, I am feeling no such problem as such. I'm not finding any reasons to believe so. So he said, so then you believe, why don't you see that? And why don't you do one thing? Why don't you go and talk to all the people who build Jio with me? Because they are the same people you will be working when you will be building JioMart. I said, fine, okay, I'll meet them also. Then I'll understand, who these people are, how they build everything. And then we got to meet, all the leaders at Jio, at Reliance, engineering, Anish Bhai, Kiran Thomas, Pankaj Pawar. We met all of these people, and all of them, what we kind of felt was, the way they think of scale, the way they think of approaching from a kind of market first, or going after the whole of the country, is fundamentally different from how we think, because we've been made to. When you read, the Valley folklore, right? Everything starts from, doing that small pilot, finding your niche audience, doing your product market fit, and then, scaling. Here, the thinking is very different. Thinking is, right, you are going to win by deploying at scale. You launch at such a large scale that there is no one who can then kind of even come and compete with you. And this is what, really distinguishes the Reliance way of doing things as compared to anyone else. Like for them, everything, yet you can win only if you have scale, and you use that scale, to get a better rates, you get better access to customers. You're able to win by scale because you are everywhere.
This is Siddharth Alwalia. Welcome to the 100x Entrepreneur Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Prime Venture Partners, an early stage VC fund led by Amit Somani, Shripati Acharya, and Sanjay Swami. Prime is often the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups in fintech, SaaS, healthcare, and education, such as Mygate, Neo, and Reco. To know more about Prime, visit primevp.in. Today, I have with me Farooq Adam, co-founder of Fynd. Fynd was acquired by Reliance Jio and set a trailblazing example of how Indian entrepreneurs scale and sell to Indian enterprises and continue to make a large impact. Welcome, Farooq, to the podcast.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Farooq, would love to know about your background. Before Fynd journey started, where you grew up, right? Your childhood, what your parents did, right?
Sure, sure. So I was born and brought up in Kuwait. Kuwait is this small Middle East country, an oil-rich Middle East country. So I was born and brought up over there. I did my schooling till 10th over there. My mom's a housemaker, and my dad used to work in Hitachi. He was a general manager of Hitachi in that region. So as a kid, I used to we studied in this school called the Indian School Kuwait. It's one of the few schools that was there uh, in Kuwait. Did my 10th over there. After that, to pursue JE, I moved to India, Bangalore specifically. That's when I came to Bangalore, then I kind of realized, the level of competition that really existed in India. When you are in Kuwait, it's just a small country and it's relatively easy to top that sort of a small area. When you come to India, you kind of realize there's so many more talented people than you, and you really need to put in the hard work to do it. So the first 2 years after I graduated from 10th, it's called first PU, second PU. I didn't even know what PU stood for before I came over here. So I was there and I did my first PU, second PU, and then my first attempt at JE, I didn't get it, and that's also another hilarious story. We used to have two papers. Then there was a screening and a mains, and in that
Yeah.
year in screening they introduced negative marking. But the way they wrote it was that for every question attempted wrong, you are going to be awarded -1 marks. So in my mind, I read it as you're going to get 1 marks anyway, so I might attempt the whole paper. And that's what I did. I essentially just attempted the whole paper. Had I not attempted the whole paper, I would have cleared screening, but I didn't. Then after that, I said, I have to get into IIT. I did do this Karnataka CET exam. Uh, it's called KSET, yeah, I think, something like that. So I did get a good rank, and I had option of going to a few local Bangalore colleges, but I said no. I mean, might as well take another pass at it. So that's when I went to Delhi, and I did my 1 year, kind of being in the hostel over there and studying. I don't know if you've seen aspirants or not,
Yeah.
right? It was a very similar setup over there. I used to stay in this place called Horse Rani, which was it's kind of a slum. It is actually a slum. It's in front of all the malls today in Sake. It still exists over there, and a lot of the JE aspirants who study in Fiji stay there. So I stayed there for a year, and then I graduated. I mean, I finished that, and then I got into IIT Bombay. I was there for 5 years at IIT Bombay, pursuing my dual degree in structural and civil engineering. I graduated from IIT Bombay in 2008, and then I joined this big data analytics and management consulting company called Opera Solutions. Uh, they posted me in New York and San Diego, and that's where I kind of understood how large organizations work, how data can be used to help large organizations, uh, and slowly kind of pick the tools and tricks of the trade that eventually we kind of use to build ShopSense and Find.
So tell us about the initial, journey of Find. First, because you were, you started as ad sale when you were back in job, and then you left your job to pursue entrepreneurship, right? Then renamed to Shop Sense and finally to,
How did you get to know about Adsale?
yeah, in my research.
Okay, it's very few people know about this. So I think very early on, I think when I was in college, even before that, I kind of realized I'm going to start up a company of my own. I think when I was a kid, like seventh, eighth standard, like Bill Gates was the big, entrepreneur of our era then. And you kind of, and I thought, how do you become, as successful as Bill Gates? And he said you have to build a company, and you very specifically you have to build a software company, because anything else required a lot of capital, and no one is willing to give capital to a nobody. But for software, building software as a company which builds software, you don't really need anything, right? I mean, you need a laptop, a few people, and some creativity and a business idea, and then anything is possible. So that was kind of back of my mind running. Even when I was in campus, we used to consult and help people build their websites or some web application that they want. Even today, I think the website that we made for Salesh J. Mehta School of Management at IIT, that still exists. That's something we built way back in 2006 or 7. Uh, so after I joined Opera, we kind of toying around with things of what to build, how to build it. So Opera used to have this annual innovation contest every year, and they used to give around, I think, 50,000, almost as $50,000 as cash prize. And I said, that could be a very interesting way of getting seed money. So me between and I had kind of the first time I had done it, we got like a third place or something, and we got some cash for that, but we kind of blew it. The next year in 2010, I said, no, this year I'm going to get first, second, third, all, or as many prizes as can, so I can get that cash prize as seed money. And that's what I did. We applied. I made these small teams, and we applied for it, and then I think we got one third prize and one popular prize and all that, and we collected some 25-30,000 dollars from that. And in that, one of the ideas was ad sale. The idea of ad sale was essentially, if you walk into a retail store today, how do you get the convenience of online shopping, right? What are the convenience of online shopping, right? You get to see everything at one go. What you're buying and how you're buying is then used to give you suggestions of what you should buy next or what can go along with that. All of that exists in the online world, it was missing in the offline world. So essentially, the idea was adding another sale, right? That's why the name ad sale. The idea was you're going to put a tablet at the time of checkout, and based on what you're buying, you kind of recommend products that can go along with your cart. Even if you don't buy it, we would give you a coupon to come buy next time, right? and this made a lot of sense for the type of retailers at that time we were working with in the US. And then we started trying to pitch that idea to US retailers, but then the company was kind of going through kind of a reorg in some sense. So me and Harsh kind of decided that let's just leave all of this and start off our own. So we in 2012 we quite literally drew from Delhi. We we packed our bags and drove ourselves down to Bombay and started building it. We didn't start with Adsale initially. We were more interested in the electronic health record space. Uh, that was what our initial idea was, that we're going to start build something in the electronic health record space. The electronic health record space in India is non-existent. Even today, it's kind of non-existent. Right? The players were trying to do things, but neither the patients really care nor the doctors care, and the healthcare institution as such do not have a framework for really capturing your health history or even documenting your history. So we said, we might, can do something with that. When you started talking to doctors and path labs, that's when you kind of realize that it's very difficult to sell to doctors. Doctors do not really like hearing, uh, how they can become better or how their practices can be better by adopting technologies. This is the time, I think 2012, this is when Pacto was kind of initially launching, and we would see how Practo was kind of working with the market and how we were approaching the market, but there was just too much resistance. We had this ad sale prototype that we had built on a tablet. So one fine day, out of frustration, me and her says, how long can you sit between four walls and hope for an idea to come in? So we said, let's go to the market. And quite literally, we used to work out of his house in Santa Cruz. So we took the tablet and then we said, okay, let's go to Juhu Tara Road. So Juhu Tara Road in Bombay is where all these expensive boutiques are there, right? So we walked first into an Anita Dongre store, right? Also this is the Anita Dongre bridal store, not the usual one. So when we walked in over there, and like bunch of two guys, in flip flops and jeans, no one's going to pay attention, and we said, okay, ठीक है, यहाँ तो कुछ हो नहीं रहा है. So I said, okay, then, and from there we walked up to the diesel store, which was next door to it. Uh, so we walk into a diesel store pretending to be customers. Uh, but I had never bought a diesel pair, or I didn't even know, diesel was such an expensive brand. As kids, you would just think, diesel is that brand that you see as counterfeit everywhere, right? And you assume it's one of those cheap products. But then you go walk into the door and he's giving you, jeans of, 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees, and they're crazy. They have like 50,000 rupee jeans also. And you have to understand, this is 2012, right? I mean, like people maybe now are, comfortable buying
Yeah.
10,000 rupee jeans. But 2012, it was unheard of. You would buy a Levi's pair for 2,000 rupees, and that was like a luxury. And we started showing the demo to a management trainee who, and this is where kind of you believe kind of the universe aligning with you. So I start talking to the management trainee, saying that this is the product that we have built, and this is how it can be used to increase your sales and all that. She said, it's a really good idea. The head of CRM is of Reliance brands is here. Why don't you show this to him? So I didn't even know diesel belonged to Reliance brands then.
Yeah.
And the head of CRM, we show the product to the head of CRM. He said, this is really good. Why don't you come and show this to my head of brands in Cuff Parade? Right? Come to our office to Cuff Parade and show it to us. I said, yeah, okay, this is very good. Yeah, this is a good break, right? So we do. So this is where we take the product and we go and meet them and we show this to them. They said, okay, this is great. Why don't you do something, show something for us for our diesel store? And that's when we wanted to get a designer on board, and that's when Harsh went on Behance and found the top designer in Bombay, and then pinged Shriram, my third founder, and he said, let's go meet him. And luckily he was also from IIT Bombay. He was studying at
Mm.
the Industrial Design Center at IIT Bombay. So we pinged him and we pitched him the idea. No, this is what we want to do with diesel. This is what we have, but we want to make something really unique and new for them. And so he made a design for us, and then we took a large, A2 printout, and we went into the store. And this is what we kind of realized early on in our careers is, and we called it like the big paper trick. People really like it when things are shown as large prints to them. They can really visualize it, right?
Yeah.
Even if product that you have made, if you really print it out on large screens and show it to them, they will understand it better if you had all the screenshots put together on large printouts rather than taking them to a product demo. And that's what we did. We made these large screens and we showed them how the product is going to be, and they said, okay, sure, why don't you build it and launch it in our diesel store. And that's how we got our first client and our first project. And that's how and we said, okay, we want to change the name from Adsale because Adsale does not make sense, and so we want to change the name. uh, Naming is, I think, probably one of the toughest things as entrepreneurs we need to do, because if you get this wrong, you're wrong for very long. And after many weeks of figuring out what we want, I think we landed at ShopSense, because with like making shopping sensational, or something like that. And that's what. And then we also had the sense where we could understand what the shoppers were doing it. So, and it kind of made sense, and it had a very kind of on kind of a enterprise product to it. We said, okay, that's what we're going to call it, ShopSense, and that's how ShopSense was built.
And the basic problem ShopSense was solving as a diesel store was people could try virtually, right?
Okay, so what problems we wanted to solve with ShopSense were manifold. One was uh, discovery of products. So if you see how products are kind of stacked in a store, it's very
Yeah.
difficult to really know. You have to go, rack by rack, aisle by aisle. So we said, we're going to solve the discovery problem. We're also going to solve the check for availability problem, which means if you walk into a store and if a product is not available, you could see which other store the product is available. We had not enabled transactions in the first go itself. We had just enabled kind of this. We also wanted to understand, and this was a little far fetched, right? We wanted to kind of create that sort of discovery to transaction funnel. So we thought, if people came onto the device and played with a few products, and if those products got sold, can we kind of infer, or what products have what sort of throughput in terms of visitors to transactions. But that really never, that didn't really pan out. What we found later on with the most powerful use case was when we enabled transactions, was that you could buy products from that brand without visiting the other store, right? If you walked into a store and you like the shoe, but the shoe was not available in your size, you could just order another one. And that's what we did with Nike, and then that became kind of really successful for us, where you could walk into a Nike store, and if the product was not available, it would be shipped from another store uh, to you. And this is like 2014, 13, 14, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is not now, right? Now all of this feels very obvious, but in 2013, 14, people would even ask simple questions, right? Why can't he go to the other store himself? Why do we have to do it for him, right? And that's how entrenched offline retailers were. And it is
Yeah.
because the way the offline retailers are organized, right? They are master franchisees, and then they are sub franchisee distributors and franchisees. So these franchisees really don't care whether the other franchisee is successful, or the master franchisee is successful. Even the KPIs of a store are not based on how much business they bring for the overall brand, but it is how much they bring for that store. So they're more interested in selling products that are in the store and not really across the company. So we had to really move the needle of this
Yeah.
kind of changing the organizational culture of these companies to really think about it. And omni-channel was not even not even a thing then. In the in the US, omni-channel had been kind of pushed from 2010, but in India it was just still considered to be one of those buzzwords that didn't really mean anything. But slowly, we kind of pushed the envelope, working with large retailers in the country, and pushed our product in it. In 2015, we kind of had to pivot from ShopSense to Find. So that was another interesting pivotal journey.
So would love to know that story. Like, what was that made you pivot from ShopSense to Find?
Multiple things, and oddly, when you're building a company, not everything is really in your control, right? I mean, there are market forces, there are investor sentiment. So in 2013, 14, after we had kind of started getting good traction, uh, we started approaching VCs, to raise around, and that time, the the
Yeah.
poster child of enterprise tech was Capillary, and we would get
Sure.
we would get compared to Capillary, right? Okay, can you become as big as Capillary? Can you become can you take this this product outside? Can you build in India, sell it to US? But what was happening in 14, 15 was enterprise SaaS, built from India and sell to the globe. That story was really not panning out. Companies were
Yeah.
struggling. uh, Even companies who had raised a lot of capital were really struggling to that. Capillary was saving, I mean, people, investors who had invested in Capillary, they were sending all sort of signals, this sort of model will not work. So we had those sort of headwinds for our enterprise SaaS. Second, what was happening was everyone wanted to invest in consumer internet. Uh, this is still pre Geo, right?
Yeah.
So, but everyone wanted to invest. I remember in meetings,
Yeah.
they've been told, right, forget all of this, just build an app where consumers come and buy anything from you, right? It doesn't matter, just make an app so that we can fund you. We really love you, we really like your team, and we really believe that you can build it. But
Yeah.
this is not fitting in our the fund thesis, and we met everyone in the Indian VC market. When I say everyone, I said everyone, right? I mean, and we reached at multiple stages. But in 2014, we kind of took a hard call and realized, this is not going to happen. Right? No matter what we do, this is not going to happen. So let's kind of you know take a stock again of the situation. And we literally went on the whiteboard and we wrote down all ideas that we thought could be cool. Your subscription business, making a sock brand, business like a Zoom car, business like a Weaver. And we wrote everything. And when we went deep after each of these models to really understand, how they could scale, whether they could scale, whether the internet scale, and while doing ShopSense also, we got a real sense of a few things, that in India, getting SaaS revenue is really difficult. But there are people are willing to pay you money
Yeah.
if you make money for them, rather than if you save time. Uh, they don't like productivity. Indian enterprises do not like productivity tools, do not like things that save time. They only like things which make more money for them, right? So if you go and tell them, use our product, if it makes money, then you pay me. That sells faster than saying that, give me 10, $100 a month, and it will save your company X number of hours per employee. No one's going to really care about it. So based on those things, we went after each of these business model, and then eventually we came back and realized, what we had itself was so powerful, and what we had was essentially we had built so many connectors to get data out of these enterprise systems, from SAP to file systems, everything. And this kind of became the core IP of the company, where we could connect any enterprise data source and get
Yeah.
data in real to or close to real time information. And we said, okay, why don't we then use this data and then uh, make make shopping discoverable on an app. And in 2012, hyperlocal was kind of becoming a thing, right? Hyperlocal grocery shopping, Grofers was building that. There was someone else also, I forget, was into hyperlocal. We said, fine, maybe if that's what the world wants, we said we will use this and build an app uh, which will enable people to buy clothes from nearby stores. And in 2015, we did a recap of our cap table, rebranded ourselves, and launched the Find app on 20th of October 2020. So we looked after all the different models, and what we realized, what we had was really powerful and meaningful, which was access to real time data through all the different type of enterprise systems, SAP, Oracle, and all the way to these file systems that existed in the legacy systems. And we thought, we're going to take all of that data and merge it with rich catalog and make it shoppable. and that's what we did in 2015. We kind of recapped the company, uh, raised new capital, and rebranded Shopsense to Fynd, and we launched our first consumer product on App Store and Google Play Store on 20th October 2015. So that was when we launched Fynd.
Very cool. And can you share your journey raising capital till then, like the struggles, including the angel round and the VC money?
Our first round was relatively easy. The first round, I think we raised was around 300 300K, I think. Of that, 100K we got from uh, Powai Lake Ventures. That was the fund
Yeah.
Z used to run. So Z was a senior from campus. So I
Yeah,
knew him.
Zishan, yeah.
Yeah, Zisana. So I knew him personally, right? But there were a lot of things that we did together in Tech Fest and in the same hostel and things
Yeah.
like that. Uh, so we had actually made the prototype and he showed it to him and he said, yeah, sure, okay, we will like to invest. So Z and Power Lake Ventures, I think we were their second investment or first investment after housing or before housing,
Yeah.
just about that.
I,
So
I think Ola would be before that, right? Ola would have been the first one.
yeah, so Ola, I think, wasn't really done using Power Lake Ventures as a group, but yeah, I think that was Z's first investment. And so we got like 100K from them, and then 200K we got from Sasha. So Harsh
Yeah.
knew Sasha from campus because of he used to organize this thing called eCell. So he
Yeah.
knew that, and Sasha knew of Opera Solutions as a company because he's a big investor in Fractal. So he kind of knew how Opera was doing as
Yeah.
compared to Fractal because they were in the both space. So he had an idea of what sort of talent, expertise the company had. So it was essentially just a bet on us, and not so much on what the business model is or how you're going to go about doing it. So I think the first 300K was relatively easy to get.
Farooq, this was on the same mockups that you showed to Diesel,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, no. So this was after we had actually launched it in Diesel. So in Diesel, there was actually a
Yeah.
working
Okay.
prototype, so people could go and see it, right? So we didn't get it on a mocks. We actually got it on the
Okay.
first release, right? I think we got it like the
Yeah.
first quarter of 2013.
Okay.
And we thought raising 300K like was like a big deal, right? Like today 300K is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Right, so we thought we let 300K, we will build a company on 300K. So after that, we met every VC, and then the goalpost kept changing, right? Someone would tell us, get X number of clients. So we would reach that milestone. Someone would tell us, this thing is lacking in your product and we would build it. Someone else would. And so what we found was that we were not getting meaningful feedback. And on the other end, consumer internet companies were, just going and raising all sort of crazy numbers. And this is when, Flipkart was doing major rounds, Myntra was doing major rounds, Ola was doing big rounds, and the key common theme was them, built for customers and not for businesses. So in that case, also and everyone would go and we would kind of try to back channel feedback, right? And Sasha would tell us, people like you, they like the team, they think you can build it, but they don't like what you're building. They think, this is not cool enough, but this is not big enough, and that's what we really struggled with. And so in 2015, when we went about after we built Find, and we had
And
launched
when
it.
was the first VC round after that?
So after that, in 2015, we did a recap, and Sasha reinvested in that round. So we didn't really get a VC till then. So the story gets even more interesting. Don't worry. So in 2016, we raised $1 million in 2015, and in 2016,
Yeah.
so 2015 is equivalent to what it is today in terms of people raising
Yeah.
a ridiculous amount of money on all sort of a ridiculous valuation. That was the same thing in 2015. 2015
5
was,
years.
any
Yeah.
anyone with an idea, with a degree from IIT, would turn up and raise a few $1 million, and it was very
Yeah.
weird. And this is the same time, when Tiger was writing really large checks and really fast, uh, and so, but towards the end of 2015, 2016, the sentiment just turned,
Yeah.
and it became a nightmare to raise in 2016. So what we were told is, reach a few thousand transactions a month, have some 10, 15,000 active users. So you should be able to easily, do a, 10 million valuation series A. You could reach like 3, 4 million you can raise on a, 10, $15 million valuation. That's if you had this model fraction. So I said, fine, it doesn't sound too difficult to do. And so he said, okay, in Jan of 2016, we went about doing that. I said, okay, the 30 days, let's try to, do 1,000 odd orders. And it doesn't matter how many installs, or that's anyway a function of how much you spend on the top line. So we are not really worried about. So we got some sort of 1,500 transactions in that month. We ran this big sale offer, and we were only live in Bombay then. Uh, and on the last day of the sale, I remember we kind of sold every flip flop, Nike flip flop was that were there in the city. We sold all of them after, when we were having such a difficult time, trying to get it fulfilled, because we sold everything that were in the stores. And then the store guys also got really irritated, because now they didn't have anything to sell to customers who walked into a store, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a kind of a very weird situation. So after that, when we went to the VCs, again the goalpost started shifting. Uh, First they said transactions, so we got the transactions. After that, they said, show us your repeats. So we didn't have really great repeats. So we started working on our repeats. Repeat everything, repeat visit, repeat usage, repeat transactions. And we said, okay, fine, there's a category, the repeats on clothing is not going to be so high. So, but let's figure out and show. We got the repeats to a certain decent level. And then they said, okay, but we want to know what your NPS is. So I said, okay, fine, we'll go figure out what our NPS is,
Yeah.
right? So we put in NPS and we start collecting NPS, and then we show what our NPS is. So, and now when how you collect NPS is also very interesting, and when you collect the NPS is also very interesting. So if you start collecting NPS after the order is placed, people will rate you really high. And if you collect NPS after the order is delivered, invariably something would have gone wrong, right? So you will get rated low, and fill rate of the order NPS is also low. People only who have a bad experience fill their NPS. Otherwise, the guys who have got it good, they don't. So we really struggled in the first half of 2016, trying to get any VC to really look at it. And I got really frustrated. I said, if we are going to get growth, I mean, if you're going to get any capital from anywhere in the world, it is only going to be basis of our growth and nothing else, right? I mean, growth solves all our problem. And then I think
Yeah.
we learned it the hard way. So in 2016 June, we said we're going to have this massive, or a big hairy audacious goal. We are going to sign up 1 million people in 6 weeks, and we're going to do 100,000 transactions. We're going to do 100,000 transactions out of that. And that's what we did between June and July. We acquired 1 million users, and we broke into the top 10 ranks on App Store, Play Store for shopping, and we were getting tremendous traction. And also we were able to reduce our cost of install to few rupees. And this is before Geo, right? Geo has not really come in, so there are not as many users
Yeah.
online as before. And we really created the first really viral refer on campaign, and we crossed the, I think, million point one installs, signups. And I don't think we crossed the 100K transaction, but I think we got some 50, 60,000 transaction. Based on that growth, something very interesting started happening. People started, noticing us, right? People started writing into us, telling how that. So one of the first funds to kind of reach out to us was rocketship.vc.
Yeah.
This is a very interesting fund where they kind of track which companies is kind of breaking out by studying public data on Play Store, App Store, and some other sources. And they reached out to us saying, we would want to talk to you. So via Kunal Bail, who, founder of Snaply, so they were also investors in us. We got introduced to Rocketship based on our traction. How we were growing, they said a yes. We said we will want to be part. We want to participate in your Series A. Then we got IIFL had created its first venture fund, so we were able to convince them to lead our round. Then we got FJ Lab. Again, they kind of saw our growth, and they were able to invest in it. So we kind of brought this all together. I think a 3.5 million round towards the end of
And by then you were only
2016.
running on the two. And by
But
till 2016, you were only running on the $300,000 you had raised in 2013, right?
no, we raised $1 million in between. In 2015, we had raised a
Okay.
$1 million, right? So again over there, right? So what we did was in 2000, early 2016, we kind of realized we need longer runway. So we went to the team, and I think we were around 50, 60 odd member team, and we said, Deco, we will have we are having trouble raising capital. So what I would want you to do is tell us how much salary you can not take home. So people were we reduced salaries from
Yeah.
30% to 50%, and for us we had made it zero. And we said uh, we will, and towards the end of it, we will return once we raise the capital, we'll return all of that, plus we will put in a 20% bonus on top of that. So let's imagine if you kind of deferred your salary of 1 lakh rupees, we will return it 1.2. So that allowed us to really extend that our runway by several months, and that kind of allowed us to close our round and continue building the company. After we got a Series A, we that's when we kind of really started seriously to build a company, to build the organization, and that's where all the fun really began. In 2017, we started aggressively going after the market. We acquired. I forget, we started acquiring, millions of customers every month. We also then kind of realized how finicky the Indian customer is. How deal hungry they are, and what will they do to kind of sabotage, uh, not to sabotage, what will they do to exploit any loophole that you would have left. Then we also realized all the malpractices that exist in the on the traffic side of how you can get bot traffic, and how you can get installs which have worthless, and how what a scam all this affiliate marketing guys are. And so towards the mid of 2017, I think, then we shut down towards the end of 2017, we shut down cash on delivery, because people were just placing a lot of fake orders. And then in 2018, no, towards the end of 2017, we got a term sheet from Google, and in 2017 we were working with Google to bring shopping onto. So in 2000, towards the end of 2017, we kind of shut down cash on delivery once we realized, all the scam that was happening with affiliate traffic and consumers generally exploiting your systems. And towards the end of 2017, we got a term sheet from Google. Uh, we were working with Google for helping take the store inventory onto Google search.
Yeah.
There was a product called What's in Store, or something like that. Uh, and so we were working with them. And then towards the end of 2017, we said, we are raising around. Would you like to participate? And that's when we were able to get the Google shopping team to invest for us. And and then yeah, I think then we continued building
And how big was
Find.
the round from Google?
So Google, I think the round was total $10 million, in which Google contributed $7 million, and
Yeah.
the remaining came a mix of between pro rata and some other family offices also joining the round. So that's what the size of the round was. And and in 2018 we were continuing to build, and and I think one day we got a call asking the Reliance Industries want to come and wants to talk to you. So
And
that was that.
we would love to know in detail how this conversation went, right? From the call till the company
Sure.
got acquired.
Okay. Right. Sure. So what happened? Let me recall this. So I think this is like June, July of 2018, and Reliance runs this incubator called Gen Next Ventures, and Harsh was invited over there to speak uh, about how we got growth, or how we got traction. But then he decided to speak on how we build the organization culture instead of growth, and that was a presentation he made to some cohort of Gen X Ventures. As part of the Gen X Ventures monthly update to MDA sir, they then sent the pitch that we had presented in that session, which got them really interested in us, saying that this is exactly how we think and this is exactly how we want to build. So we should talk to these boys, and that's how we got invited by the chairman's office to come and meet. So one fine day, me and Harsh then go to Reliance Corporate Park, which is on the outskirts of Bombay, and we are told that we are going to meet Manoj Modi sir. And at that point of time, we were working with Reliance brand for almost like 4 5 years now, but we have never actually had interacted anyone with anyone at the Reliance leadership. So I said, fine, okay, it's one of those meetings where we, introduce ourselves, what we're doing, and if nothing else, it might open some more business for us. At no point of time in our mind, it was that we will, get into an, large acquisition deal or any of that, because we had just raised money from Google. I think it's been a
Yeah.
few months also that 90% of the money was not used, or even 100% of the money was not used. So we really not were looking for any capital or anything. So we walk into the room, and it's quite an intimidating setup, right? I mean, you're sitting in this room which is overlooking a helipad, and you can see kind of helicopters land uh, and come, and we're like, oh wow, okay, that's really, and you can kind of see all of this, right? This whole campus, right? It's a huge campus. It's a lush campus with lots of building, and you kind of realize all of this was built because one person one fine day decided that he wanted to build, and what it is now is the genesis of one man's idea, perseverance, and whatever you call it, ambition. And then you kind of really get awed by that all of this was not there 30 40 years back, and this kind of was built on that vision. So we're sitting over there, and then so there are a bunch of people from the corp dev, there are a bunch of people from Gen X Venture, and then and a gentleman walks in and hands over the card, and it says Manoj Modi. So we start explaining, what we do, how we are helping them, how we work with retailers, and how we're working with brands, and then things like that. And then he starts describing the vision of new commerce of Reliance, but how they want to really build for India, while connecting, the last mile with Kirana stores, with stores with their own supply chain, and how they want to kind of bring everyone in this new e-commerce, like the physical as well as the digital together. And it was a great vision, and this is something we were doing, but our scale was not as large as theirs, right? I mean, when we started conversation with it, the numbers that they would throw at us in terms of let's say in a given day they generate 100 terabyte of telecom record call record data. or the number of call minutes that are happening, or the number of everything. The scale itself was so difficult for us to even think of, and you keep hearing it. You'd read about it, but when you really meet people who have built it, right, that was really fascinating. So we started having a so so what happened? So the first meeting happened, and towards the end, MM sir asks, okay, so what should be the next steps? So then, so we have that, half an hour, 45 minutes, and I don't remember. I don't remember what exactly happened, but we he says, "Why don't you meet me?" No, I tell him, "Okay, I'm going to think about how should we work together, and I'll come back to you by Monday." And
Yeah.
this meeting was on a Wednesday, and so in that call it was made as if, right, they want to uh, seriously look at us as a company, that they would want to kind of join forces in building JioMart. And this is when JioMart was not even released. uh, then we went to when he said, okay, so then we went and started talking to different people, and then I remember going and talking to Sasha and saying that we went to Sasha, and he said, Sasha, this is what is happening. We don't know how to get out of this situation, right? We really don't uh, want to, because we just started building, right? I mean, why would you? And we have all the capital right? And kind of everyone kind of told us, try to get out of the situation without spoiling your relationship, because you work with them and you continue to work with them. There's no way you cannot work with the largest retailer of the country. And that's what, then we kind of decided in our next meeting next week, that me and Harsh decided we'll go and tell them that we were not looking at anything. And so we go to Maker Chambers. That's where their head office is. Uh, and we are kind of we come a little early, so we are doing.
Yeah.
We went. So Sasha's office was right in front of us. So we met Sasha, and came down, and we're going to Maker Chamber, saying, okay, we'll quietly say that, as a company, we are not capable of the scale that you require. We don't have the talent only. We said कि बोल देते कि talent ही नहीं है हमसे हमसे होगा ही नहीं. So we walk into that one boardroom over there, and again it's a huge boardroom, and then there's some people in one corner, and then there's some people on the other corner, and we are sitting in the middle on the other side. Uh, and then a lady walks in, and she turns out to be Isha Ambani. And now me and Harsha
Okay.
looking, me and Harsha looking at each other and saying, "Ki, now it's going to be very difficult to say anything." So this
Yeah.
is that. So and then MM sir comes again, and then so we had made some ridiculous notes around how we cannot do scale or anything, and then he starts talking, right?
Yeah.
So he starts talking of the scale, the ambition, the resources that will be available, how large a business we want it to be, and how much we are willing to invest, and and then I asked him, point blank, that I told him actually that at Find, we believe in being brutally honest. So I'm going to honestly tell you that everyone has told us not to do work with you, right? So then
Yeah.
he asks me, right? So, but what do you think? Right? Forget what people have told me. What do you think? So I say, I am feeling no such problem as such. I'm not finding any reasons to, to believe so. So he said, so then you believe, then why don't he said, then why don't you do one thing? Why don't you go and talk to all the people who build Geo with me? Because they are the same people who will be you will be working
Yeah.
when you will be building JioMart. I said, fine, okay, I'll meet them also. Then I'll understand, who these people are, how they build everything. And then we got to meet, all the leaders at Geo, at Reliance, engineering, Anish Bhai, Kiran Thomas, Pankaj Pawar. We met all of these people, and all of them, what we kind of felt was, the way they think of scale, the way they think of approaching from a kind of market first, or going after the whole of the country, is fundamentally different from how we think, because we've been made to when you read, the Valley folklore, right? Everything starts from, doing that small pilot, finding your niche audience, doing your product market fit, and then, scaling. Here, the thinking is very different. Thinking is, right, you are going to win by deploying at scale. You launch at such a large scale that there is no one who can then kind of even come and compete with you. And this is what really distinguishes the Reliance way of doing things as compared to anyone else. Right? For them, everything, yet you can win only if you have scale, and you use that scale, to get a better rates, you get better access to customers. You're able to win by scale because you are everywhere, and that really kind of pushed the needle for moved the needle for us. And then I think towards the first half of 2019, first month of 2019, we got a term sheet from them, and mid 2019, I think August 1st or July 30th, the deal was kind of completed. We still own
Okay.
a large part of the company. As founders and employees, we own around 16-17% of the company, and the remaining is with Reliance. So we continue to run Find as it is. We are using all the expertise that we build at Find, and working with the larger JioMart team, and putting our product wherever required.
Got it. And the acquisition was close to, right, as reported in public media, $42 million for 84% of the company.
That's correct. I think the numbers. I don't think there was nothing wrong in the numbers. The way they went about doing the deal
Yeah.
was, whatever is your previous round, we will give an 18 or 20% bump, because anyway that money is going to go to the investors, and all they care about is their hurdle rate, and that's why. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people made money who were invested with us in the initial days, but I think the guys who came in the last round, they just got like an 18% IRR.
Got it. Got it. And how has your journey been post acquisition, right? You have been an active angel investor,
Correct.
right? So would just love to touch upon that journey. When did you make your first angel investments, and if you can share your list of
My,
angels
my
investments since then.
first angel investment actually was way back in 2013. And that time we invested in a company of friend of mine from campus. He used to work in this company called Idea Forge, the drone company, and then he left
Yeah.
Idea Forge. The first deal I did was in 2013. Was in this company. I forget the name of that company also. It kind of shut down. But I've been in angel investing from 2013, and the simple idea was essentially, people who I know, or from campus, who are investing, who are starting up. I would invest in them, and our check size used to be relatively small then, but we would kind of pull in together and do like a 25 to 30, 50 lakh rupee round, whatever they wanted. And this is, and that time, there wasn't any like pre-seed round, or there wasn't any these angel syndicates, right? It was much tougher to raise capital, especially your first round. uh, and in
Yeah.
2017, I think in 2017 or 18, uh, with Gagan Goyal, we kind of institutionalized this uh, this fund called First Cheque, which was
Yeah.
essentially, right. And anytime I would invest, First Cheque would also kind of co-invest along with me, and then it kind of became like easier for me to get access to deal, and became easier for me to invest in a larger, meaningful, full manner. So I think between 2013 and now, I think I've done maybe close to 30 odd deals, and now
Wow.
I'm kind of, in the last a year or so, I'm trying to do a deal a month, and the focus I've kept is consumer internet, enterprise SaaS. Those are things that I really understand. uh, Things which I don't like and I don't understand is ed tech and health tech also for that matter. I don't understand,
Yeah.
even though these those are really hot subject. But consumer internet, SaaS, we I used to also do D2C brands before, but I kind of stopped doing that. But in D2C we got really good brands. We got Chayos, we have Third Wave Coffee, and I have Caffeine. There might be a few other brands also. Funniest pop-up shop. Uh,
Today, which would be your angel investment which turned out to be largest, the top five or six ones in
what
terms
are
of
my
valuation?
Okay, in terms of valuation, the top five, I would say there's Bizongo is one, uh,
Yeah,
Chayos is there, which has become uh, big. Then there is M Caffeine, which has become big.
yeah.
Uh, what else have become big? In the recent cohorts, there are some which I hope are going to become big. But then those deals are kind of yet to happen. But these top three are, I know they've become big. I think all are kind of in the 20 to 30x return range.
And have you taken any exits till now from your?
Uh, no, not yet. The problem is, even if you get an exit, right, where do you really deploy that capital?
Yeah,
Right, that's really a challenge, right? I mean, if you figure out how to deploy it uh, with that sort of extreme returns, you might just keep it over there because these guys companies are continuing to do well and they'll continue to give you higher returns. So we've not got any exits from anywhere. There was this one company which did return some money back because it shut down, but it took like a haircut, but not really a bumper
yeah,
return on anything.
yeah. So Farooq, what are the principles of building a company that you learned in the last 8 years? Some of the things which you wouldn't do now if you start again. Some of the things which you would emphasize, from day one, because now you have scaled fine to a certain level, and now working at one of the largest scaled enterprises. Not only in India but globally.
So the question is, what would I tell myself of 2012?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Or what you would tell, your angel investee companies on the process of building a company, if you have to summarize in, 8 to 10 pointers. That's it.
Okay, so what do I tell my angel? Right. So okay, so be product led. Number one,
Yeah,
if you are building for enterprises or businesses, be product led. Uh, there's not a strong enough emphasis in India to build product led companies. A lot of times, you have companies which make a product, but that requires so much more effort to sell. So become first, be product led. Uh, have a really strong high bar for design and consumer experience, right? Today the difference between a consumer product built in India and that's built in the US, there is nothing. There's no difference, right? You have to hold that bar really high. Over invest in engineering. I cannot emphasize this enough. And for you to really over get great talent and attract great talent and retain great talent, you have to have a really good culture. And when I say culture is right, so the companies are kind of reflection of what the founders know, right? And if the founders are people used to do sales before, or people who were not anyway kind of understand how tech products are built, they then build this organization which are very sales driven, or sales first, which does not really attract the top talent into your company. So be very careful of how you go about building this culture, because end of the day you need people to build, and only then you can sell. You can't sell before building. You have to build first, and but so you need to attract the really uh, high quality builders. uh, o- Over I mean, create your talent acquisition team from day one. That's going to be your competitive advantage, and it's kind of moves uh, from the culture point of view. uh, Raise money raise money when you don't really need it. And this has been, one of those hard learnings for us. And this is something I keep telling my investing companies also. A lot of times when, investor inbounds come in, and, founders kind of all act all pricey and picky, saying that, no, no, I'm not going to take the money now, I'll raise it after this, after that. You don't know how the world is going to change, right? If the world is kind of conspiring to, give you resources, just take it, right? And we have a saying in Hindi, right? Ghar aayi Lakshmi ko mana nahi karte. And that's exactly what it is. You do not say no to this. Just take it. You never know when you'll be required. Uh, Growth solves all problem. So for all your problem that you might have, just focus on growth. That is your north star, nothing else. No matter how fast your product is, no matter how shiny your product is, if people are not using it, it's got no value, right? So growth will solve all your problems. It will solve the problem internally, externally, everything. And the end of the day, right, the company's aim is to make product which reaches millions of consumers or hundreds of enterprises, right? And if you're able to kind of demonstrate that in a meaningful manner and fast, you will be able to. A lot of time companies keep just overthinking about it and over engineering it without going to the market. uh, what else? And keep learning, be humble, just be with the attitude that we don't know things, we are figuring it out. And I've seen it now with everyone is figuring it out, to founders of the largest companies to founders of small companies, everyone is figuring it out. We really do not know how the world is going to evolve. We really do not know, what works, what doesn't work. Everyone is figuring it out, and it's okay. It's okay to not know. Just be with the attitude that I have the mental models and the building blocks to keep figuring out as I get more information, and read like crazy, right? Read like crazy. I think I've given you 7 8 points now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what are some readings, right? You said read like crazy that have influenced your business decision making.
Sure. So the first book on my list is High Output Management by Andy Grove. I
Yeah.
really love that book. Good to Great, Jim Collins. That's been really been helpful. Measure What Matters on OKRs has been really helpful. All of these books, and there's another book which we used when we were pivoting called Exponential Organizations. Uh, that also really helped us, to pick things, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Because when you're founders, right? I mean, you have to, your choices need to be really well thought through, because if you make them wrong, you don't have the liberty to, you don't always have the liberty to change, right? So when we are doing this pivot from ShopSense to Find, exponential organization really helped us. After that, there are tons of books that we read on an ongoing basis. But these 3 4 books have been really helpful for us in thinking of how to build an organization that works, how to an organization that is both customer centric, also it's employee friendly, also it grows also fast. Uh, so those have been books really helpful. Andy Grove's High Output Management, I think, is you can skip the first few chapters, but after that it's really helpful.
Thanks a lot, Farooq. It was wonderful knowing your journey, Find's journey, right?
Thank
Thanks.
you, Sim. Thank you for having me, Siddharth, and I hope this inspires 100 more entrepreneurs to start up. Last word for entrepreneurs over there. It's never as easy or as linear as you would expect it to be. It's going to be, if you ever went trekking in Nepal, right? They call it Nepal flat, which is essentially up and down, up and down. That's what exactly it's going to be. It's going to be a journey which looks like Nepal flat.
Thanks, Farooq.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, and have a great day.